creates our experiences by the thoughts we think and the words we speak. Beliefs and ideas and thoughts that we speak, we accept as truth. Creates our experiences by the thoughts we beliefs and ideas and thoughts that we think we accept as truth. What we think about ourselves and the world becomes true for us. What we choose to believe can expand and enrich our life. Each day can be exciting, joyous, hopeful experience, or a sorrowful, limiting, and painful one. Two people living in the same world with the same set of circumstances can experience life so differently. What can transport us from one world to another? I am convinced that it is our beliefs that do so. What we are willing to change, when we're willing to change our primary belief structure, that we may experience a true change in our lives. So it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. And thank you once again, everyone, for being part of our class today. We are trying to experiment in a number of things. You know, we are live on Zoom and on Facebook, and we're just trying to get ourselves live on YouTube, and that was the little glitches that we experienced earlier, and we've been able to tidy that up. So we're also live on YouTube. You know, at least we surpassed Greg's target for next Sunday, because he said he wants us to be live on Sunday. So we are live today on YouTube. Okay, without wasting much time, I'd like to invite Dr. Greg for the class titled, You Are Moving Forward. Dr. Greg.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to First Center for Spiritual Living in New York City. The technicians are moving things around. We're ready to roll. So I kind of put a demand on consciousness this week. I know we wind up on YouTube, but I only learned lately that we get there a week after we record, so it's our intention to be there live going this week, and on Instagram, which is being set up as I speak. Our numbers have been growing. We've had weeks where we've had over 1,000 viewers, so that's pretty exciting. I'm excited about it. A year ago, we might have had like 13 viewers, and to our credit, we've had a Sunday service and a self-healing class every single week throughout the pandemic. We never closed, and the city has been shut down, and we've always been broadcasting, so I'm impressed with everybody's hard work, and it's been a lot of people involved in doing this thing, which looks so simple. And there's been a lot of stretching and growing here, and that's pretty much what we do here. That's what the teaching is for us to challenge ourselves, to step up, to hitch our wagon to a star, you know, to expand and grow. So we're all here for that. So welcome again. I have a lesson entitled, You're Going Forward. I'll attempt to stick with it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. We have about 52 lessons now, and every one of them are works in progress. And I say that because all of us are works in progress. So the lessons will be too. I started out teaching these lessons somewhere in the mid-'80s after the book You Can Heal Your Life was published. And someone handed me a cassette, You Can Heal Your Life, and it was intended for a very good friend, and he didn't particularly have a great deal of interest at the moment. And I walked down the street where a church put up this big sign, You Can Heal Your Life, coincidentally a week or two after I was given the tape. And the rest is history. I've been doing it ever since, and I don't know, that's a lot of years, since probably 86 or 87. So tonight, in our class, which we call our Hay class, our Holmes class, our Hay and Holmes class, our self-healing class, we call it many things I see as I look on social media. Everything that Louise Hay was teaching, the first page of her book, where it's called Points of My Philosophy, are directly drawn from the Science of Mind teaching. So tonight's class is about doing the work. And I know for many people, work is like a four-letter word. Just the idea of it, it's like, I'm not interested, I don't want to do any work. I can't blame you. I mean, so let's start thinking about approaching this activity from a different angle. Maybe we'll think of it as a workout. Of course, some of you won't like the idea of a workout either. Maybe it will be, we can think of it as employing a mental fitness routine. Some of you might not like that either, but you can call it what you want. Or a success plan, a plan for success. Whatever you want to call it, this is a plan that involves now 52 lessons, and you can join in wherever you want to. And any place you land in this process, I can promise will help you, because we're working with you in terms of consciousness always. Self-healing involves consciousness, working with consciousness. And for some of you, that may be a very new word. I used to use it a lot when I was younger, and I didn't have a clue on earth what it meant. So let's talk about it a little bit. My consciousness can be thought of as my awareness. All that I'm consciously aware of, and a lot of what I'm not consciously aware of, the things that are in my subconscious. The sum total of my knowing, you might describe as your consciousness. And the thing to understand it is that it's playing out in your life. The sum total of your knowing is being reflected everywhere in your life's experience. So we come into a program, a class like this, a learning, the Science of Mind teaching as a teaching healing ministry was drummed into my head in the early 90s. So we're involved in a teaching healing ministry. So what does that mean? And it's all about consciousness and how do we develop self-mastery. So we'll look into some of these questions tonight, as we do every week. I see Reverend Judith on the call and Reverend Shane, and so we do our work in consciousness, we do our work in mind. Probably when you were younger, a young person, you believed in some type of a higher power, a God, and if you prayed, you were usually praying in your mind to a God that was elsewhere, usually most people above, and generally it was a big being, a big guy probably, in the skies, in the heavens. Maybe you prayed a lot and hoped your prayers would be answered. You hoped that whatever it was would solve things for you, fix things, repair your parents' broken relationship, or give you the things that you needed and wanted and you prayed for. You hoped that whatever it was that was outside of you would fix things, right? Would fix you. Maybe it would even save you or fix any situation that you were troubled about. Whatever the higher power was, for most part, as we think of it, it was elsewhere. It was outside of ourselves. And if you're like me, I became impatient. I was always praying. I was a good Catholic boy. I was an altar boy. I was praying. I went to Mass every day. It didn't seem to respond in time for me. I became impatient. And when you were younger, you might be observing all the things that happen in life that you wouldn't think that whatever power it was, you wouldn't think it was fair because you would see lots of things happening for people and lots of things happening to people that just didn't seem fair. And so in your young mind, you wouldn't think that this whole process was fair. And a number of you, like myself, good codependent child, I was taking care of my family in different ways and, rescuing and solving and trained to help. And I was told to offer it up and sacrifice. And I was even told I would my rewards would come later. In the process of all that, many of us have a sense somewhere, you're not born with it. Louise would say you're born as this beautiful child of light and wonder, and your needs are met, and you cry, and people tend to you, and you laugh, and the world responds. So somewhere in the process of your entrainment, your growing up, comes in this sense of, I'm not good enough. Now, I can't tell exactly where that happened for anybody, but it happens to most people. You start comparing yourself in early grade school to others. You see what you have and they have, and you see what you don't have, and there's a sense of I'm better or I'm not good enough, and all of that starts happening. And unknowingly, you were buying into that, and invariably, you came up to the place where there was something missing, something wrong with you. And depending upon your circumstances, you might even have a sense of shame about who you are, and who your family is, and what they possess and what they don't have, or what your sexuality is, or what you're attracted to. So in comes shame, and then we have a sense of justice and injustice and right and wrong, and all of that stuff happens to us along the way. And if you're steeped in religion, you might think some of the things that you've done are unforgivable. After all, many of the faiths would say you were born in sin, original sin. And so all this stuff is being heaped on young people. And it reinforces the idea somehow, some way, that I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough person. What I've done is unforgivable, and So you might think of yourself as irredeemable, and you're needing a savior, you're needing something and someone. We've prayed as kids, we've prayed to a source to make us better, because we believe that somehow we were flawed, born in sin, or unlikable or unlovable. And if you're one of the people here, and I know there's a few, thought, well, I haven't gotten any of that, I'm thinking, well, really good for you, I'm glad, But that's what a lot of people, if not most people in the Western Judeo system have brought into their consciousness. So we prayed to God to make ourselves worthy. I've come to know over time in classes and participation in our teaching that there's nothing I can possibly do to become more worthy. And your value is established and has been established in life since the very beginning. And there's nothing you can do that will ever make you less valuable. What we teach you is to wake up to some essential spiritual truths. You might say to yourself, there's nothing I can do to become more worthy. I am worthy. That's a powerful word to say, I am. And you might say, my worth is established. It's been established since the very beginning. Already, it was established from the beginning, and I would like you to consider another empowering thought this evening. Who and what you are is beyond anything you could ever evaluate. You can't possibly know the value of the people around you, the people who travel life with you. They're divine beings just as you are. So it makes no sense judging anyone. We have to awaken, or we don't have to do anything, but I invite you to awaken to the idea of that you are individualizations of God itself, and so is everyone else that you travel the world with. Try not to judge anybody, because you can't possibly understand their value, their worth, their greatness. And this whole purpose of this class is for you to waken up to a greater understanding and love and appreciation of who you really are. Once you have that, it will extend to others, I'm sure. Most of us haven't known that most of our lives. Perhaps some of you on the call are just learning it now. There won't be any accident if you're on this call or this winds up you're hearing this a week from now, because you're always drawn to the right information at the right time. Some of you will reject it. It happens. And some of you will walk away from this information because you're not ready to hear it. But you'll hear it, and it will be a catalyst that you might come back to 6 months or 6 years from now. So many of us have thought through the years and through time that we were flawed, and some of us have thought we were flawed deeply. If anybody really knew me, you might think, if they really knew who I am, what I think, they would run for the hills. I've heard people say versions of that for at least 3 decades now. Because their sense of self is really, really, really low, and they're really down on themselves, and they think that who they are and what they are. They think they're the only ones that have ever made a mistake, or the only ones that's ever made a grievous mistake. Many of us have been raised in families, and we weren't nurtured to know how precious and wonderful we are. We heard a lot of wrong, and we heard a lot of scarcity, and we heard a lot of things that really probably weren't that great. But the thing to understand about all that, as you hear me say often, is the people who raised us were doing the best they could with the information, the understanding, and the awareness that they have. So eventually we come to a place, hopefully, of compassion for self, which will extend to others. So the work we do, our work is to keep working with this consciousness. It's a process that the definition of spiritual mind treatment in the glossary of the textbook of Science of Mind would say it's the time, the art, the method of ridding this negativity, this negation from our consciousness so we can behold the presence, which is everywhere. The time, the art, the method of ridding from your own being this kind of negativity. Ernest Holmes invited us. He said, I long to commune with the person who's so redeemed from the bondage of self and all this stuff. You know, and I will want to spend time with him and walk with him and talk with him and be with him, because he, whoever he or she is will be the redeemer of my soul. We are all that, potentially, if we rid this negativity and these patterns, these old tapes, these old things that we always seem to bring into our present days. In our younger years, before we found a teaching like this, there was hope. We had hope that we would be saved, and we had a faith that there was a God somewhere that would provide for us. And I'm here to tell you, the universe will provide. The universe does provide. You'll learn here in the classes and our Sunday activities, but it will provide in a different way than what you once thought. So the question I ask you all is, are you doing the work? Are you training your mind and your thoughts to see the good, the God, which is everywhere present? And I'll ask another question. How's everything working out for you? I've been a wise guy kind of therapist over the years too. I'll say, well, how's this working out this way? You know, I mean, because here's the thing. We're each creating our own experience. So when you're doing Ain't It Awful, some version of, you know, poor me and Ain't It Awful, I would ask the question, how's it working out doing it that way? I remember being with a very gifted therapist probably 20, 25 years ago, and she would give me a little card each week. Her name was Joyce, and the back of the card would be, whose problem is it anyway? I thought, why does she keep giving me that card? And the thing I want you to understand from this is, whatever the challenge that we're having, you know, it's only a series of thoughts that we're having. And thoughts can definitely be changed. You don't have to live in bondage to your thinking. But to be free of it, you have to be willing to think in a new way. So that's the work. You know, and you know, we have all these attachments, right? The attachments, I want him, her, I want things to be a certain way. I want. And, you know, that kind of thinking is just going to bring forth a lot of pain. Increasingly, we learn, as Louise would have advocated, to trust the process of life. And everything that's in our life is there to lift us up. It's there as a lesson. So let's start working with the idea of perfect place, perfect time, and all the time. So we're living in a continuum of life, and we're bringing forward into our lives lessons that will ultimately, if we embrace them, bring us to a higher place of understanding. Ultimately, when we're working this teaching, you know, we're elevating our consciousness where we see good and more good. And when people ask me, how's it working? How's it being you? I'll say, pretty good most of the time. let me move forward to a little of this. I'm talking about people who find themselves being stuck anywhere. Nobody in this teaching who's really working this teaching is stuck, right? So we want to really have the openness to take a look at our positions on different subjects. You can change anything, really, if you're willing to do the work. Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? It might be good to take a different look in many of our positions. So every Thursday night, we're taking a look, and I ask the question asked on Thursday night is always, what's it like being you? What has it been like being you this week? And then when we turn over the microphone, I'm not really wanting to hear the story so much as I'm wanting, hopefully, to have people become more mindful of what the internal dialogue is. Because that internal dialogue that goes on within you like 24/7, that dialogue, the tendency of those thoughts is creating your experience. So if I can do anything, I want to challenge you to pay attention to your own thought process. You know, is it life-giving? Are you a fun person to be around? And only you know the answer to that. I usually get a kick out of things. You know, sometimes I get drawn into the mess, but the thing is, as quickly as I find myself there, I know I need to stop it. You know, and I need to come from the understanding that all of life is here for me, and whatever is in my life is here as an opportunity for me to step up and think about things in a different way. Louise Hay had lots of different places where she was talking about criticism. When I'm talking about people stepping up and making changes and all that, sometimes people feel challenged, but this isn't about criticizing anyone. We teach people, in fact, don't criticize yourself. Wherever you are right now is okay. You might have a lot of negativity in you. You might be the proverbial Chicken Little, the sky is falling. You might be worried about everything. You might be just full of what's wrong and who's wrong and all of that. And you might think I'm in a place, you know, I'm irredeemable, I'm unforgivable and all that. But wherever you are, however you come in to these calls and to these classes, I want you to just say to yourself, stop. I'm going to stop the negative stuff. You have to begin somewhere, right? You're going to stop. Louise Hay would say it's like cleaning a house. You're going to start where you are right now by stopping the negative chatter. There's so much to learn, and there's so much beauty and goodness, and you know, your life, whether you want it to be or not, is on an upward trajectory. I mean, whether you might be fighting it, but life continues to bring you the lessons that are going to lift you up. Now, if you want there to be a quickening, a term I learned from I think it was an Australian author, if you want there to be a quickening, then you need to align yourself with what life is and what life's about. You know, we talk about things like, okay, what do we imagine the process of life to be? Peace, power, love, joy, beauty, wisdom. Those are what they came from Judge Troward. But if you want to go forward, you really don't want to be going against the flow. You want to be in the flow of consciousness. So you want to align yourself with ideas of peace, love, joy, prosperity, wisdom. There's always going to be more to learn. You know, everything that you've done in your life has brought you to this point in time. So to move forward, you know, let's start becoming mindful of where we are. Every week I'll ask that question, what's it been like being you this week? And it isn't for you to criticize yourself, it's just for you to start becoming more and more mindful. Louise Hay would say, I believe, it's only a thought you're having, whatever it is, and a thought can be changed. You have the power to approach the ocean of life with an enormous container to receive a great amount of good. Ernest Holmes said the same thing years ago. He said, there's a bank account downtown with your name with millions of dollars on the account. And he would go on to say, your job is to figure out how to open yourself up to receive what is yours by virtue of your birth and your existence. You're the heir to great things. The kingdom of God is at hand. Truly, or from the Course in Miracles, miracles are natural. Abundance is here. Everything's available. If you're not experiencing them, it's not because they're not here. It's because there's something within you that's not allowing yourself to experience the floodgate of good that's really here. So it's here and it's available. There's nothing wrong with you. It's simply a matter of opening up the faucet, the spigot, and it starts from realization of who and what you are. Okay? I am as God created me, in the light and the love and the glory. That's another song I like. So, the work. First thing I would suggest is make it a habit of showing up. That's half the battle right there. If you show up and you just trust the process a little bit, week by week, you'll take a look at your belief system. You'll take a look at what's looping around within you. You'll take a look at what's derailing you, taking you off track. And you will begin to develop some conscious abilities to stop yourself in the process. Stop in the name of love. You'll learn how to stop. A song by Hal Joseph and some of the Louise Hay material was Remembering and Forgetting. It's the game that we play. When we're plugged in, when we remember who and what we are, it's like, we're on fire. We realize we're creating our whole life. We are Shakespeare. We're writing our script. And, you're writing your life. When you forget, you're in a world that's different. It's much different. You'll think that there's bad guys and good guys, and there's politicians and people that are out to get you, and your whole life will seem, like you're at the effect of everyone else. But in fact and in truth, you are cause to your own experience. Louise Hay said we're each 100% responsible for all of our life experience. I always, after I say that, will say she never said you're to blame for anything. See, this isn't about blame, and it isn't about who's right or who's wrong. It's just an explanation of how it operates. If you look at the textbook, what it is, how it works, so I'm trying to show you how it works. It responds to you affirmatively. Your wish is my command. That was from The Secret. Remember the genie, your wish is my command. So your consciousness, once again, is fully displayed in your life. And if you're talking about the other person, the people, and all the things people talk about, you've missed the boat already. It's never been about anyone other than you. There's a famous poem by, what is her name? It's entitled God and I in Space Alone. And Nobel laureate, can't think of her name. God and I in space alone and nothing else in view. So this woman's made her transition. Where are the people, the dead I once knew? And all, it goes on. And the great God says, nay, they have ceased to be. There has never been anything except you in me. What we're working here, we're working with a principle, and we're working with a principle that's wooing you, Emerson said. It's designed for you to evolve and to grow in greatness. Emerson taught that the finite alone suffers. The universe lays back and smilingly reposes. You wake up and get with it. So my suggestion is let's wake up and get with it. How's suffering working out for you, anybody? I don't like it. I want to let go of that stuff ASAP, right? As soon as possible. So we want to learn to trust life. We want to understand that we're creating our own experience. And we want to understand that we can create a magnificent experience, a magnificent life. Oh, the places you can go. There's absolutely nothing stopping you except you. So you have the power, and you can choose to use it. I'll close with Ernest Holmes' famous line. There's power for good in the universe greater than you, of which you are a part, and you can use it. And I know everybody in this call intends to use it to create just to create a really great life experience. It's yours it's yours for the taking. So I will close by saying I know each of you intend to do just that. So thank you. We'll see you in just a minute, and I look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you.